Thank you, Mr. President. Just to sum up some of the comments that have been made earlier, and I think it's important, Mr. President, that all of this discussion, all of this legislation, be put into some context. And the tax bill that we have, the revenue package that we have in front of us right now, should not be looked at in the context of just an isolated piece, but I believe in the context of a number of the other items that were voted today and yesterday, and finally should be looked at in the context of the budget that was passed on June 30th, the spending plan that was passed on June 30th. This is clearly, this is all of this that we have here, the budget from June 30th, the other code bills that were passed and voted on today, are part of a very detailed compromise that was put together from the governor's office and through the majority here in the Senate, the Senate Democratic Caucus, and a lot of work by a lot of individuals to try to achieve a number of different things that are not just reflected in this one piece of legislation, but that are reflected in totality. We cannot look past the fact in all of that has been put together that there in fact is some new ground that has been broken here in this package. For the first time, after at least a 10-year effort, for the first time, there will be a severance tax on the marcellus-shale drilling. We cannot look past that. Is it at the level that many of us would have liked to have seen? No, but it is a modest and a tax nonetheless. An opportunity for this industry to make a contribution to the rest of the citizens of the Commonwealth. That is new ground. It cannot be overlooked. It has been said that you cannot raise a tax that you don't have. Well, for the first time, if this eventually becomes law, we will have a severance tax on the marcellus-shale industry. That is new ground. That is important. In all of the legislation that has moved today, this package of bills, and in addition to what was done on the budget that was passed on June 30th, there's new ground that's been created. We will now have dedicated funding, state-dedicated funding, permanent state-dedicated funding, Mr. President, for the LIHEAP program and the weatherization program. Something the Majority Leader and I last worked on, I believe it was in 2005, when we put state dollars in to the LIHEAP program. We now have a dedicated, permanent funding mechanism to go to help low-income individuals for their heating and energy assistance needs. That is important. That is new ground, Mr. President. We cannot look away from that. In this package of bills, we have, for the first time, dedicated new funding for the children of individuals who are incarcerated. For young people, programs to support young people to break the cycle of incarceration. 70% of young people who are the children of those individuals who are incarcerated usually wind up being incarcerated themselves. Through a great bipartisan effort, working in the House and the Senate, agreement from the governor's office, we will create a fund, the First Chance program, to provide support and break the cycle for these young people. That's new ground, Mr. President. For the first time, Mr. President, for the first time, we will now have strong enforcement rules and regulations available to the Liquor Control Board to shut down nuisance stop-and-goes and bars across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and especially prominent in the city of Philadelphia. For the first time, we've never had that before, we will have it now. Citizens across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, especially in my home city, have been crying out for help to get relief, to shut down these nuisance establishments. In this piece of legislation, in these package of bills that are being voted on today, we will now have enforcement opportunities for that. First time, Mr. President, there have been countless meetings by all members across the board to get assistance in this effort. We will now, for the first time, have that assistance available to us. There are a number of other things, Mr. President, that are in these package of bills. A number of isolated issues that had to be addressed that are important both to individual members, important to individual communities, but also important to the progress of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We passed the budget on June 30th, Mr. President. We had to figure out how to put all of the dollars together to do that. In the context of figuring out where the rest of those dollars will come from, some of this we'll have to maybe hold our nose a little bit and vote for. But there is some positive things that are happening in this package of bills that we're moving today that break new ground, add to the overall benefit of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, handles our responsibility, and moves the Commonwealth forward. Mr. President, I would encourage a yes vote on this bill. Thank you.